because I have been, well, chomp chomp, um, which is not going to make any sense to anyone else. Yeah, I've been building way too much Lego. It's taken over the lounge room. I had to put my Star Wars, Ninjago, city space, or space stuff in general away so I could put up my new dream stuff.
Right.
That's how much I've been doing.
No, and that's understandable and fair enough.
But on the bright side, I just want to point out, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is
Yep.
this is one of our characters here, right?
Yep.
God, stop! Oh my! No, why the green? Why the fuck? Okay, hold on. What? No, the that's blue. Why is the? This is not going to work, is it?
Welcome to Talkin Drek, where we struggle with technology and Lego.
And the world around us in general.
Yeah.
And straws.
Hold on.
Well, that's a you problem. Not, I will not be included in that. Well done.
Aha. Yes. Okay. So, like, I don't know. No, get closer, and it just.
You have a hole in your hand.
Okay, the whole point is to try and show off like the color schemes and stuff that this set is using, especially in this wave, to kind of throw back to what my intended video for this week was meant to be, except I can't get fucking Clipchamp to fucking work for 5 seconds long enough to finish editing my goddamn fucking video and put it up. I'm going insane. So that's why I've been like heavily just making Legos, because that's been frustrating the shit out of me.
Again, understandable.
Also, apparently the world's going to shit. Did you hear the world's going to shit?
I've heard people claim that. I've yet to see evidence. There's, can't really believe in much that's coming through the news these days. So naturally, I choose to do my own investigative journalism. And since I'm not there, it doesn't happen.
That's fair. I like the certain groups of Americans who are insistent on certain news paths who think that, say, a city like London is just full of roaming gangs and stabbings all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what a lot of people think about New York City here too. What if we actually made a movie based on that? Like Gangs of London, and then like maybe a TV show.
We could call it Peaking something.
No, just call it Gangs of London. Or like in New York, we could call that one like Gangs of New York.
And then after the gangs, we could try to escape from New York.
But you can't leave out like the people over in Hollywood, so you'd have to have like another one called Escape from LA.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Are we making old man references?
I don't have much to contribute to that.
I'm sorry we are old.
No, don't be sorry.
There was a great movie. I think it came out in the 90s. German movie, I believe, called Lola Rent. Translates over to Run Lola Run.
Ah,
Oh man, ha! That was a great movie. Just fast paced. It was basically, what was that Jason Statham movie? Where he was.
Transporter.
Is that it? Where he was? No, where he was injected with that serum and couldn't
Oh,
crank heart rate.
That was Crank.
Yeah.
Crank, yeah. Run Lola Run was basically that, just without her being injected with whatever the drug was.
Mm. Okay.
I liked it anyway. Still think the shark's stomach should be empty so it could eat minifigs.
Okay, so technically, this one can't. Even though I'm about to attach the now completed tummy section. Tummy section. However, I do have the Cyber Shark from the Season 3's Cyber Games one, which the whole point is, yes, the shark's mouth opens up so that it swallows people and then they fall into the stomach. And the stomach's got clear parts in it so you can see all the people it's eaten.
Oh, nice.
Kids show, people. Kids show. This is why I keep telling people to check out Dreams, because that's fucked up. In fact, the most vicious time they killed someone, they ended up turning it around and laughing it off because it killed basically Dream God. And the big person's reaction was, oh, that's all that happened to him? No, he'll reform eventually, don't worry.
I always liked in the old G.I. Joe cartoons, you'd have two planes crash. Or, one plane would shoot another plane down. And they always had to show the pilot flying down from a parachute. Because they couldn't kill anybody in that.
Nope. No killing allowed. Okay, so...
I've had my Rogue Trader game yesterday. Bit of a stop-start situation because we've had so many things that were being prepared for basically orbitally bombarding a bunch of Ragdoll. They learned that the Ragdolls were actually influenced by Chaos, specifically the UVAF. So a lot of the players were basically going around going like, well, we've done what we need to, so what should we do next? It was a bit jarring because I was trying to basically go like, does anyone want to do something? Do you want to go and talk to these people? What would you want to do here? So like no one was really taking any initiative. So I was like, right, well, I am just going to initiate a bunch of things to happen. And we had we had some scenarios where the players who are not face characters decide to talk, and there's going to be consequences for that because the way that these characters speak is really off-putting. So, what was it? The players were talking with the governor of the planet, and the seneschal decided that, not the seneschal, but the navigator, when they were meeting with them, the governor was basically going like, oh, let's talk about potential projects. Like, can you do this and that? To which the navigator basically turns around and goes, we're tired. We don't want to deal with this. Stop beating around the bush. Just tell us what you want. Right, well, if that's how we're going to be talking, lay out, this is what we need to do. And then from there, it's just a whole case of, right, we're not going to be talking to you anymore, because clearly you don't want to stand for ceremony, which is that's important to some people. And outside of that, the players then had a random event of the ship, which was that I've been hinting a couple of times, despite the players failing their roles, that the underdecks of the ship is effectively having problems. They've just not been able to get the right roles to learn what it is, and that's now coming back to Nest. So the players were then told by one of the players who had established a spy in the underdeck, informed them that, effectively 2 to 3 days ago, a riot began. Cannibals have risen up, and apparently there's a sighting of a witch that's rising up
in the ship.
In the ship. So the underdecks are meant to be the part of the ship where things are just things is not as orderly as you would normally have it throughout the rest of the ship. It is.
Yeah, I get that.
Okay.
How big are the ships? I mean, like,
so
like
the ships
miles?
are, they're several
A
kilometers.
small one is, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like,
I'm not familiar with it, so
that's fine.
why.
So to give you the perspective, this specific ship has 30,500 people living on board it. So it is like, it's a city, like with its own, like,
about twice the size of my town. Okay, I got it.
Yeah. So you've got all of that. You've got take the seedier part, but then like the seedier part is then an entire region, and because of like how like lacking in basics, you are effectively, you're looking at the state of like some of the African countries, or even like Southeast Asian countries, like during the like mid 20th century of like turmoil. Like basic necessities does not exist, and during the last game, it became quite apparent to me that one of the players has a really wrong perspective of like how the ship actually works. But I'm not going to sit and correct them, because they are meant to be like a navigator. So they've got like a access to like to the top level and some of the medium levels. That they're not going, like, if they are going into the underdeck, they're not doing that without heavy escorts, because they're the navigator. The ship's not going anywhere without them. So they aren't allowed to go into areas like that.
And I would assume that those that dwell on the underdecks probably don't care if they go anywhere or not, because
no, like it's the whole thing of like, well, our life is the equivalent of like living in war-torn Sudan.
Yeah,
like it's like we don't, like, if we're not going anywhere, that's not going to bother us. As long as the oxygen keeps on being pumped, which it's going to be, ad indefinite, and they've got their own food supplies that they've made. It's not nice, but they have their own food supplies. Like, it's a pseudo, not independent, but like pseudo self-reliant region of the ship, which just doesn't really conform to all of the other aspects.
Have you ever seen? Oh God, what was it called? The train.
Yeah, I know which one you're on about. The one where it's like a 1,000 carts long.
Yeah.
That's it.
What it.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what it sounds like. Yeah,
it is the tail.
Okay. So so like the food that they were eating in that one, it turned out was all of the people that just naturally died and were recycled into like this jelly-like cake. Thing. Yeah,
I'm trying to remember what it was called again, but and that's exactly where I'm drawing my
like Arctic Blast. I mean, it was a movie, then they turned it into a TV show.
Snowpiercer.
What is it?
Snowpiercer.
Yeah, that's it.
Great movie.
I like it.
I would highly recommend the series. Again, it's a very good show.
Yeah,
and it's very good character driven.
Yeah.
So I would recommend it. But that's where I'm drawing some of my inspiration from, and this is the tale. Like this is where
I follow you.
again in Snowpiercer they turn around and say, "Well, we had to deal with cannibalism because eventually we ran out of food,
Right.
and they had to deal with that." So in this scenario, the ship has
clever.
taken.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, I'm just saying. No, it's clever. I like it.
Thank you. So what has the recent events has been that the players have been in a lot of void combat. The ship has been taking damage, but the damage and the losses has been towards the upper and middle decks, which is where most of the working class people are. The belly hasn't really been hit by that because why do you there's nothing there of major value that you target, so it's just there for like running a bunch of things. It's a dumping ground. Christ almighty, I've just gotten. I'm gonna have to review that. Cool. And I'm basically like I'm now fleshing out the under decks because there's 4 decks. So you've got like the first deck, the second deck, third and fourth. And the first deck is where one of the players has a spy. And that spy basically reached out and went, "Hey, like 2 or 3 days ago, there was a riot. Cannibals have risen up. We think that there's sightings of like black lightning being struck out. We're kind of scared. Like this is the sort of thing you asked me to report on. Here you go." So the player was like, "Oh, this is fantastic. This is exactly what we need to know." They then turned around and went, "Right, command staff, this is a problem that's happening." One of the other players, again, the navigator, basically went and dragged that man up here, had him stand before the entire command staff, and the player then began shouting at him and threatening him that his failures, or he claimed that his failures is now going to mean that his entire family is going to be killed. Yeah.
Okay.
It was one of those scenarios where he started going. Again, I'm not complaining. I'm just showing there's
Yeah,
a
yeah.
disconnect between what the player was. The player began going, "Well, where's your deck overseer? Where is the person who's in charge of your entire region?" And
Mhm.
this person was just like, "Well, he's just a chieftain of a single tribe." And he stood there and went, "Excuse me, what?" Like I'm not following. It's like, well, what is this? Like, how does this run? You need to start pointing fingers at people who are responsible. And the guy was like, I don't understand the politics here. Because he just deals with like his section. That's all he does. Like things work,
Yeah.
things runs, and that's it. And expanding out on it, the underdecks, yes, this specific underdeck has a deck overseer. He doesn't interact with anyone because as long as they meet their quotas, he doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah.
That's it. So he doesn't care that they're beating each other, that there is like internal what's it called, tribe conflicts. And then the second on the deck, that's where even by the social deprived status of the first on the deck, the second on the deck is then where most of the criminals, markets, and the likes is set up. Then the third is considered to be the steel wastelands because that's where that is like a no man's land that's being fought over between between the second, some of the third level deckers, and then the fourth level. And the fourth level is then absolute pitch black. The way that it's set up in the underdeck is that most of the engineers do not go down there. They don't really they maintain the absolute bare necessities. So like toiletries to prevent diseases running rampant. They prevent. They ensure that like at the very least airflow is happening. Some electricity is diverted down there, and they've got some ways of communications, but the people down there are not educated. Like reading and writing is a luxury to them. So when when the player, the navigator, was shouting at him, was like, "Why didn't you send an email?" The guy generally stood there and was like, "The fuck is an email?" Like, what is this? Like, I use like he uses messengers. For him to tell the player that he was spying for, he had to go to the border, present himself, and basically go, "I need to talk to this high officer." And the border guards are like, "I'm sorry, you are an underdecker, and you say you need to talk to the big boss." It's like, "Yes, I do, because I've got important information. Like, there's a riot happening." Like, that sounds like a you problem. It's like, "Yeah, but cannibals, and there's actually a witch that we think that's in there." It's like, you think there's a witch, that's enough for us to at least not beat you and send you away. So that's how that sort of all transpired out. And the arch militant has been dubbed the Angel of Death because the first time that there was a problem with the Underdeck, he just went down there and indiscriminately murdered hundreds, if not thousands of people, to set an example. So the first Underdeck is basically like, do not send the Angel down here. We do not want him anywhere near us. He's a fucking death machine.
So is the underdeck populated by 30,000, or is that the population of the entire ship?
So the 30,000 is the entire ship.
Okay.
The Underdeck is basically an unaccounted, like, nomad or like, what's it called, like rules aren't really applied, so you don't have a proper census of how many that there are.
Right,
I've given
right.
hints that like a one family house or one family room, because it's think of it like a submarine, so you can have bunkers and all that. You try to basically cram 2 or 3 families of like 4 to 6 into one of these rooms, meaning like a lot of the people are like, some of them going to sleep on the on the dining table in a fetal position. Others are then going to be underneath it. Like people are sleeping all over the place or hanging up hammocks. Yeah, they're putting up hammocks to like literally utilize this space.
Why do I get the feeling that this ship, and I'm assuming this is just one of many ships out there like this, but why do I have a bad feeling that it's going to end very, very badly?
So it's not unusual, but Seraphis, you had something to say?
Oh, I was going to say, the funny thing is that what Sax is describing actually comes across more like a good situation for people in the underbelly of a ship like this. Yeah, the underdeck. Because frequently, and there are amazing CG videos on YouTube of this type of stuff, of like just videos of like a ship, an imperial ship, going about its business, getting raided by Eldari, and like you just see from the point of view of these people who just live in the underdecks, all they know is, oh, this alarm goes off, we've got to go do this. They will sleep in like piles sometimes, depending on like the conditions of that ship. So yeah.
So the players from the very beginning of this, and this campaign's going up to close to a year now, the navigator has been driving towards like doing a lot of humanitarian work for the ship. But again, I have to remind that player, you need to he needs to rein in like what he's doing, because he's saying, I'm doing 5 different things, but that requires him to be in 5 different parts of the ship. It's like you can't clone yourself. And he often has to then go and deal with whatever is most urgent, but it's not happening. So, and the player has his own interpretation of how things are running, and it is nowhere like it's rosy by comparative of the 40K universe. If they went over to like one of the other ships, like they've got a light cruiser, which is a militant, navy ship, they do not treat that on the deck at all the way that it's fair. They regularly just go, give the security guards combat shotguns, and you now have a quota of 500 dead mutants. And that they do that on like a monthly basis. Just go down there and just mass murder this amount of people. And then that's a quota that the captain has set to ensure that A, those people do their work, and B, that there's a culling to ensure that they don't start getting ideas, and they understand that when we come, like when you work for us. You do not rise up. You may hate us, and I could not care less, but you're going to be doing your work. Now that's 500 is like a random number I've just plucked out, but like it'll be regular raids just to keep them going, because the underdeck, there is something else that also happens down there. It is where I've established that there's a lot of radiation both from space as well as a ship. A lot of that radiation is just brought down there to be away from the majority of the population. So that means that there's a lot of mutation that happens down there. There's a danger when you start having a high concentration of mutants because they breed very quickly. And it starts having like failing genomes, which only exacerbates the problem. You know, radiation is going to start tampering with your mind. And this specific ship, when we rolled up the ship itself, it has a complication, which is blasphemous tendencies. Mechanically, it means that every time that the players go into the warp, there is, the basically the ship is like, ooh, the warp. I love flying through the warp. I am so good and I glide skillfully like a swan through it all. Fantastic. The navigator's like, oh, I get all these bonuses. The downside is, every time that there is a willpower check, there's a -5 to that. That includes for the NPCs in the background, and I roll like shit. So for the majority of the campaign, the Underdeckers had to roll with 25% chance of resisting the lure of the warp. Chaos. They failed a lot of times. And in the background, there's been this ticking mark of like a chaos code forming in the background. This is why you just regularly just go, we can't save the underdeck. At least we know where it is. Just spearhead down there, make an example, and then come back up. Like that's what you do. Like according to the law. Now the players do not. The current sentiment of the players is we want to be Star Trek humanitarian, so let's not do that. That's all right. That's what they want to do. That's what they've established. Happy days. So I am putting together like a worksheet where I've basically said like, okay, here is what we have here. Here's what's happening here, and here's the influence of it of all that's sort of ongoing. Well, I have given a heads up to the player whose contact was brought before the commanding staff. I basically shouted at by the navigator that if this threat is going to be bearing fruit, there's going to be consequences. Another player who is the seneschal comes from a criminal background, from a penal world, brought onto this ship as like just one of many thousands of people that was just meant to be working there. He's managed to break his way through the ranks and rise up. So he has got some insights to this, and I'm going to be sending him some messages basically going, once this guy comes back to his family or to his city, he is going to be telling everyone that like this is the threat that's hanging over their head, and it can go one of two ways. Like either they're going to start cooperating a lot, or they're going to start like just hunkering down and never letting information pass them by again. Because why? Like if you're going to be, let me put it this way, from his perspective, he's done the right thing, and he's been punished for it. So now he's getting the taste of like, oh, okay, either I am going to have to step up and take responsibilities that is not my responsibility, or I'm going to have to start suppressing this information from getting out. The latter is probably easier. So that's sort of circling back to the point of the navigator has got no fellowship. He is not a charismatic person, and he berated that person in front of the entire staff. Not that this guy is going to be caring about the upper staff, but he's caring about the fact that he's now been told, oh yeah, you haven't done your job, you failed, you and your family is probably going to die from this. Like, cool, I'm now going to presume that my family is in danger, going to get them to hide for the next foreseeable future, and if this goes down south, we may have to then do a desperate rise.
Which, sucks.
Yeah. Well, that's if that's how they want to go through it, then that's okay. That's their choices. But again, it was enjoyable in the sense that having the players interact or react to the fact that like, oh yeah, that's right, like we technically are running the ship, but we actually don't know the full ins and outs of every part of the ship. Because again, why would they? There is, in my interpretation, the command staff is looking at like the wider picture. There's a bunch of NPCs who is then meant to filter all the daily problems of what is actually coming up to the command staff. It will be the equivalent of the daily debrief that the president of the United States gets from all the different departments. It's going to be
And then completely ignores them.
Exactly.
I know all the important ones: KFC, McDonald's.
Yeah.
But you get my point. Like, there is a massive itinerary that the players have to technically get through between when they play, and there's a huge amount of it that's actually filtered because the junior or senior officers are basically going, well, this is not important enough to bother the command staff, so we're going to give certain orders down to oversee this, and that is how it's meant to be run. Like, there are certain things that just runs. There has been riots on the ship, but it's been suppressed. So it's been like, well, why would we bother the command staff when it can be taken care of?
With blackjack and hookers.
You could. There are ways for, or shotguns, or shock molds, and batons, and the whole 9 yards. And you could make the case to get out fire hoses, but water is expensive, especially in space.
Yes.
So that's what's been happening with that, and I had so again whenever the rogue trader can't make it, the navigator is basically in charge. But again, the new seneschal has a very different. Well, he comes from a criminal background, so whenever he tries to find opportunities, he goes, "All right, well, I need to be transparent about what opportunities I've found. Bring it to the navigator and go, hey, I have an opportunity for doing stuff within the coal trade. Do we want to take that opportunity?" And again, you can do that as a rogue trader. There is just risk and reward involved. The interaction was very much, why are you bringing this to me without a concrete plan for how this is going to work? And why are we bringing stuff on board that we don't know about? I was like, well, I've seen an opportunity. I'm presenting it to you now. The question is really, do we want to pursue this? If the answer to that is no, then fine. But to do all that length of work, at least from the seneschal player's perspective, is like, that's a waste of my time. Because from his perspective of criminals, they don't care about the details as long as they earn money, and the risk is neglected or neglectable. But it's almost the opposite here, where you have to evaluate everything or share everything, and then you can be given a go ahead or not.
Honestly, I'll be surprised if they actually end up doing something about it.
So at the moment, there is the navigator is, even though he says, "Oh, I'm not that dogmatic," he is super dogmatic. He really is like, "Oh, I'm open to doing this. You just have to present me a solid reason why." And it's like, so that's a no. If you're not willing to take that risk, then no. If you then want to sit and understand everything, all right, there's going to be a risk to that, which is corruption. Because I've made the point that if you start understanding the alien, your humanity is going to start being degraded. It will erode away.
Sorry, it just reminds me of the Blood Ravens. Their continued workings with like Eldari and stuff and Tau. It's just like frequently make allies of the Xenos.
Yeah. It's convenient allies for a greater enemy. Sure thing, Bob. Sure thing. Not to mention that they regularly go, ooh, that's a nice artifact. That must be belonging to us. What? That belongs to the Black Templars. Oh no, it was ours all along. Do you have any receipts for that? Because I do.
Yes, I do like how magpies.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh man, you know what would actually be funny?
What would be
Is
funny?
if your game does eventually get an Astartes, and it's like an AWOL member of the Blood Ravens.
A black shield from the Blood Ravens, yeah.
Just ooh, shiny. Oh, this was mine all along. See, here's the official stamp of the Snap Blood Ravens.
Why do I see a whiteout on this receipt? Oh, clearly, you don't understand that typos can happen from malfunctioning servitors, so I've had to correct this manually.
Look, I've even got my own personal servitor here.
Exactly. So yeah. So that's been the latest with my Rogue Trader game. So yeah, next session is going to be me making a big map and them going down and dealing with cannibals and potentially a mutant psycho. Now again, some players, one player has again the navigator has been saying, "Oh, we should have been able to detect that from 0.8 kilometers up through I don't know how many meters of steel." I don't think so.
It's one thing to project out into space
Yeah.
because there's one sheet, space, another sheet, person or target.
Yeah.
You're trying to delve into your own ship through all that muck and everything.
Not to mention the amount of radiation, and you've also got the occasional, I don't know, warp engine that is literally oozing out warp energies. I was like, I disagree, but I'm not going to sit here and go, no, you're just wrong, and here's why. Because then I'm going to be dragging the entire game out, and we're going to be arguing about lore stuff, and that's absolutely pointless and not working towards the game.
Hmm.
And I don't want to sit and start doing this back and forth between games because it's detracting from the enjoyment.
Yes.
I mean, again, plus from my philosophy, a part of the buy-in is that the players should not know everything. And I mean, Fish or Brian, if we were to take your city of 15,000, could you say that you know what's happening in that city at any time?
Not at any time.
That's where my point sort of lands. Is like
Yeah.
you're reliant on outlets of information to come to
Yeah.
you or that
Yeah.
you can go for.
Yeah.
So it's like I absolutely do not subscribe to the concept that you know what's happening on your ship at
Yeah.
any given
Yeah.
time. Like that is
Makes
fundamentally I don't agree with that.
Yeah.
And if they want to have this network that's constantly feeding them up, we are only doing shipborne adventures. And that's not what it is. There are other things that I disagree with. Like the navigators are meant to be making money, making maps of the warp that they can sell. Fine. I'm not going to give them one profit factor per warp map that they make. The book says that you can, and I've gone no. Because you do a bunch of jumps. That means, like, let's say you do 12 jumps, you get 12 profit factors. That is heavily going to break the game. And you now don't need money. So you're going to get one profit factor for every 6 months. and the rest of it needs to be earned by going out and doing endeavors. And this is just something where I've gone, this isn't a discussion. This is a deliberate design. You can accept it and move on. You can argue with me and be shut down. That's it.
So what was the navigator's like justification or reason for going down to the lower decks to begin with?
So the
Just
uprising.
curious?
No, so the fact that there is mentions of a witch.
Okay.
Okay. If there is a Saigo, that's a big problem. Because Saigos can connections to the warp, they can let in demons. If there is a cannibal cult or a cannibal group that's now taking over, that's a problem. And the fact that they've gone from the 4th deck into the 3rd deck, they've basically risen up and consumed, an entire deck. Hundreds, if not thousands, of people that's now going to be working, be a part of their force momentum. That's a problem, and the player was then role playing out anger that the lower decks has failed to inform the upper decks. So he in his perception, he should just go down there along with the rest of the team to then make an example that they need to do better, and probably make some examples out of the locals, however they want to do that. It's not a forgiving world, and it absolutely shouldn't be.
I mean, there's a reason why in the grimdark future there's only war.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. My plan is, once this is all settled and done and they go on, I'm gonna have one of the there was a player that left who played the Seneschal. I'm gonna have him sort of like step back in. He's going to talk to the current player, Seneschal, and basically go, hey, can you do X, Y, and Z to like establish some connections in the underdeck and like get this done? He's then going to turn towards the missionary and say, right, we need to get a better relationship going on. Clearly, from what he's been reading, the underdecks are rejecting the belief that there is this saint that one of the players has been making and been trying to push for the ship. Not a problem. I encourage the players to go and make up additional stuff to bring the game alive. The fact is that the underdeck has basically gone, we don't accept your bogus saint, because you say that she's all about saving people and making their lives good and giving them hope, and we are basically suffering constantly. So you can fuck off with your hypocrisy. So they've just gone, no. If your commander, the Archmilitant, the Angel of Death, has come down here on more than one occasion, just absolutely butchers us, and you're preaching for this like love and kumbaya, no, these two do not add up. So we're calling you out as hypocrites. I think it's funny because that's my perception and my interpretation of like how they are receiving them. The rest of the ship is going like, oh, we absolutely love this saint. They're so caring and they look after us and we're getting a better lifestyle. Happy days. It's just the underbelly is like, no. We don't want your self-gratifying charity because it's not actually helping us.
Just the idea that the people in the, underdecks are just like, how can there be an angel of mercy when the red light happens and half of us die?
Exactly. It's like you're preaching about a saint that apparently cares about us, but where the fuck is she when the death angel arrives? There's nothing but pain and suffering. Every time those doors to the upper decks opens, it's beatings, it's torture, and it's murder. How are we meant to look at you other than tyrannical oppressors? Again, that's their perception. That is how they view them. The players can try to do all these other things. I mean, one of the other NPCs has been trying to find a way of moving the radiation away from the underdeck. which another player who has left the game, there's going to be a recurring theme here, played the tech priest and basically said, all right, that's a neat idea. Tell me where I'm going to be putting my tons of radioactive materials instead. Can't we just vent it? No, because it needs to be recycled for other purposes while in the further Imperium. Have you read the doctrine of the Adeptus Mechanicus? I was like, no, that's not the point of these things. Well, here's some light reading, and he gives him like a big, thick tome. And basically goes, have fun, and then come back to me once you actually have a solution. And then that NPC has been going around like trying to figure out, and it's basically gone, I have no solution to this, or I have no concept of like how to achieve this. So he's sort of going like back and forth for like how this can be done. But he's basically been stonewalled by one of the players who basically went, we're not doing this. This is a ridiculous idea. Humanitarian to the underdeck is ridiculous. It's a waste of money. And if we want to be running that level of effectiveness, we're going to have to sink money into it with no return. So give me a plan that's cost effective, and then you can present it to the captain and explain to him why he should be pumping out like 5 to 8 profit factors. Now, profit factors, one profit factor is probably easier to refer to it as billions. Like that's probably the easiest way of like transferring it to material wealth that we can see. And even a billion is like to all of us. We know how much a billion is, but the buying power of a billion is probably beyond what we can feasibly imagine.
Oh my god, an entire range of a Lego set.
Well, not just that, but think of all the Games Workshop stuff that you can acquire. You might have 2 armies.
Yeah.
2 whole armies.
2 whole armies and several Lego sets. Oh, the power! No wonder everyone wants to be Elon Musk. He's got 840 billions.
By the way, I just want to put some context here because Game Masters.
Mm-hmm.
About 10,000 years ago in Warhammer 40k lore, pretty much all this stuff for the reason why there are people in the underbelly of the ship in the first place was actually automated. The machines of the system actually worked. The whole reason why there's people down there now that live out entire lives and civilizations and families and everything, like genetic lines, is because the ability to keep these ships going was lost. So when things broke, they needed to find ways to fix them. And the easiest way to fix them was to just get people to do it.
Right.
So, like, there could be 10,000, well, not 10,000, there could be 1,000 people down there whose job is when the red light, so when the red alert system goes, their job is to move a giant fucking bus-sized munition cell into a cannon.
Or other times when certain numbers or certain glyphs show on the screen, they know that when this glyph shows up, I have to twist the knob so that this parameter goes from the green over to the orange. That's all, and he has to maintain it there by using these knobs, like twisting them back and forth, and that's all he has to do when this one glyph shows up. They can't read, they can't write. All they've been taught is word of mouth.
Right.
That's all they have. When you buy a new like engine or a component for a ship, you buy the component and you have like families that are coming with it because they know how it works. So then they have to be integrated into your ship. And it's a whole thing of if your ship has what's called for a crew rating. So that's basically how good that they are. The standard is crew rating of 30, which means that they've got 30% of succeeding in anything, and that's considered to be normal. It's why you encourage the players to literally do the things that needs to be done. It encourages the Star Trek mentality of, right, well, the command officers are going to do this rather than the
So
20. Go on.
what would happen if the players decided, and I understand what Warhammer 40K, I understand the whole scenario and the grim dark and all that. I get that.
Yep.
Hypothetically, what would happen if the players decided, you know what? Yeah, it's 30,000 people, but we're going to systematically move through this entire ship and purposely try to better everybody's lives.
So that is a big undertaking. Is it possible? It absolutely is. The group
Well,
has
I
to
mean,
be-
and when I say that, I'm like, okay, because you were mentioning earlier about how the rules state that for every jump they get X amount of whatever the monetary system is.
Yeah.
And by the rules, if they did 12 jumps, then they would have more money than God knows what to do with.
Yep.
And I'm just thinking to myself, like, well, with that much money, I mean, one really could move through the entire ship and better the lives of everybody on there. Yeah, you're going to have some that are greedy and some that don't, wouldn't want that, I'm sure.
Yep.
But
So
what would
I
that
have
look like?
so I've house ruled that the 12 jumps, I'm not going to give you 12 profit factors because that breaks the game and moves it into something that can be exploited. And at that point, I might as well just pack up and go, we're not playing this. Because now
Right.
you can get anything that you want, your ability of acquiring all of this. You can literally buy ships so vast that now you can buy ships that you're not meant to buy.
Right.
That's the problem. It opens up a can of worms where I've said, you are not getting this. This is an exploit I am refusing to give you. And you can argue, you can sit, you can send me threats. I do not care. You are not getting this
No.
because I can see the door it will open and you are not getting it. But let's rewind over and let's actually answer the question. Let's say that they do a bunch of missions that acquires them. Like they are massive missions. It's like 6 months, 8 months of like intense gaming, making sure you do all of the things to build up the events that gives you the 12 profit factors. All right.
Mhm.
Let's say the absolute highest amount of 8 profit factors is needed to renovate that entire underside. Cool. We are now looking at 4 decks. That's going to be 4 times 3 D5 weeks. That's going to be spent. So that's what, like 20 D5 weeks. Then you're going to be waiting for the major renovations that are going to be taking
Right.
place.
Right.
That will basically, it will have a permanent boost for the morale. It will have an upgrade in terms of like the skill capabilities of the group, of the ship itself. Like you actually start moving it up because it now doesn't have the inherited problems that the rest of the universe has. You're building a gem that is
Mhm.
effectively bringing Star Trek and its ideas of egalitarian and
Yeah, kind of. I
sustainability.
guess that's kind of where I was going with it. Like that
Yeah.
type of I mean, and like I said, I realize I know the whole history of Warhammer 40K and the
Can you do it? Yes, you can. But it comes at personal sacrifice. And
right,
then
right.
that's the thing. Like, so you now have to go out to acquire. Like, the players can do it right now. They've got 56 profit factors. They can say, "Fuck it, bam, 8 profit
Right.
factors,
Right.
20 D5 weeks gone."
But then you're
Cool.
also going to have like a whole bunch of you'll have the whole rest of the universe gunning for you.
You know that. So this is your ship. The rogue trader owns it. He can do whatever he wants with it. He can rule it however he wants. It is down to him to make money for himself. And the setup of this game is that the group is invested into the area that they've entered, and that
Mhm.
they've been given the right to go and colonize planets and to do things. So the cost is, if they take, let's just say they rolled ones on the 20 D5 weeks. So 20 weeks pass by. 25. No, sorry, the 5. No one. No. So they passed like 20 or so weeks is going to go by. That's what, like half the year, just under half a year. That's going to be gone.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I have basically built up to a year's worth of events that's going to happen with them being unable to interfere because their entire ship is now dry docked. It is being split open. It's being renovated. They have people that are literally spilling out and that needs to be housed. At that stage, you can't just go, oh, we're going out there. It's like, no, you're fucking not. Your ship's entire underbelly has been cut open. It is being gutted. You are going nowhere unless you're now going on board one of the NPC's ships. And if you do that, you now have to accept you are not in charge. The light cruiser has a captain. He is in charge. He has a command structure. He is contractually obligated to do certain jobs underneath them. But the moment they step on board his ship, they obey his rules. He is in charge. They have the privilege of sitting and being a part of his meetings. They do not have the right to tell him how to run his ship. And if they do, it is going to be a situation where he will turn around and go, right,
Where's the airlock?
It's just like, here's the contract of me obeying your commands using my vessel. Nowhere does it state that you have the right to control me and my ship. So you now need to respectfully never speak to me in that way in front of any of my staff. Otherwise, I will take the bite, null the contract, drop you off at the nearest Imperial station, and bye. That is not a negotiation. He holds all the power, and the in-game universe is whoever is the captain of the ship has the second voice to the God Emperor himself. Like the captain of any naval ship, that captain, once he gives an order, there's really the circumstances for you to challenge that openly are very unique and usually related to when you look at like nuclear armed vessels.
Yeah. And so at the table in an instance like that, is that also a situation where it's like, well, we're just going to close up the book and that's the end of the game?
So that is going to be a situation where I'm going to say, right, we're now going to have a pause because I'm going to have to list out all the events that happens. You can't interact beyond telephoning. Like, that's it. Like, wherever you end up, like, doing this dry dock stuff, and there's, like, free places that they can go to, but that's where they're going to be stuck for, let's say, 20 weeks. So there's going to be a bunch of things that's going to happen. Like, there's going to be a faction that technically is going to go into financial ruin, and then now has to, deal with the consequences of that. There's going to be a war that's going to be escalating, and then there's going to be some victories, and then there's going to be someone that comes out on top of that. They've got no influence over that. They might lose a planet if things go the way that I've set them out. But they can't do anything. So it's just like, right, you've now done your dream stuff. You now have a Star Trek ship. The cost of the world moving forward without you has been this. You now have to recover 20 weeks of work. Can you do it? Absolutely. But the consequences is, game-wise, the world doesn't revolve around you. We're moving on without you. Simple put. It's no different than if Seraphis, myself, or you suddenly turned around and said, I don't want to be employed for 20 weeks. Well, the rest of the world is not going to give a shit about whether we're going to be sitting with the thumbs up our asses and doing nothing.
I can identify with that.
Yeah, so it moves on. No matter what we might say or want, you don't have the kind of influence that can shape the world. So, tough luck. That's
well, I'm going to work on that.
I wish you the best of luck for that. So that's what's going to be happening. And then I'll probably turn around and say, right, well, we've now reached this point in the story. I now need to take probably 3 or 4 weeks to like list out the next course of events because the players haven't done any influence. Meaning things are just going to play out. So I'm going to go, right, well, what are the next steps for the next year in the game?
Right.
And then that's going to be that. So so going back to your question, can the players do it? Yes. Will it break the game? No. Does it have its own consequences? Yes. And the question is then, is this a cost that the group is willing to pay? If
I
so,
hope so.
if they do, it
That
is
would be
not going to be.
hilarious.
Sorry.
That would be hilarious.
I mean, it would be. It would be something at the very least if they decide to sit on their asses and do nothing for 20 weeks. Great. That's. It just means that like I'm gonna sit and like have to rewrite everything that's happened because they will lose allies, and they're going to lose planets, and their rival is going to get a lot of influence on rivals. Because there's another rogue trader who is currently waging war again. Like it's different methods. The current group is doing the whole exploration, logistics, setting up communications and trade lanes and all of that. That's what they're doing. There's another house that showed up, and they have got a mega battle cruiser. They have got cruisers to support them, and they've got like tens of thousands of infantry that they brought along. It's a war house. It's a house dedicated to war. An old ancient house whose entire purpose is to make sure that the Imperium's will is enforced. And while they're doing that, they're going to take out every military contract to make money. Because you can do that. So that's what they're focusing on. They're making good money. They're fighting orcs, they're fighting ragdolls, they're doing this and that. And while they're at it, they've come across a human civilization that's been like, oh, we've got, starships, we can do all these things. And they've gone, that's adorable. We're gonna beat you into submission and just take your dry port. And you now work for us. That's their method. It's like we're here to subjugate. And then we will put people in charge that is going to keep you subjugated so that you meet our quotas and the Imperium quotas. Because we're not here to make friends. We're here to bring results. And results are unconditional victory.
You know what I think? You know what I think would be interesting?
What would be
a rogue trader who is still following the doctrines of the God Emperor.
Oh, yeah.
The atheist pseudo warmonger technology good thing. Yeah.
So the current the rival rogue trader I have is meant to have a lineage that goes back to the Great Crusade. But their doctrine is a worship of great men. So like Erskine Creed from Cadia is seen as being a great man. Warlord Slado of the Sabbat Crusade is seen as being a great man. Lord General Makarov of his brilliant logistical mind is seen as being a great man, so on and so on and so on. They bring to light that the spirit of man and its ability of just rising through unbelievable odds, that is what they believe is the true spirit of the Imperium. So they come in with the ideas that men will win the war. We will apply the judicious amount of violence to always win. But they also see themselves as being the proper rogue traders, the war rogue traders, the ones who come to for conquest. Oh, good. Thank you for the heads up, Game Masters. Either way, back to the point I was making. Christ, Brian. Why do I bother? So that's what the rival is up to. That's the whole belief. Like they see enemies of the man and they just go, well, the way you get rid of them is by killing them.
I was going to say, and so I mean that could easily be like, instead of trying to make a ship of paradise, they could just go complete balls to the wall opposite and say, we're just going to be a murder machine.
They could. They absolutely could. Hell, They have had the opportunity of getting an absolutely enormous ship. It was chaos infested, but they had the opportunity. They chose not to do it. They've just gone, okay, send out a Boyd and have it sit there and go, fuck off, this belongs to House Gonzalez. Fuck off, this house belongs to, like, basically they claimed salvaging rights.
I would have picked it. I mean, but then again, I like chaos. I mean, and I understand what you mean by the term chaos, but and I'm using it in like the word chaos as in chaotic, as in we just don't know what the hell is going to happen, 5 minutes from now, let alone 5 months from now. I like that because it gives me as a player something to do. Now, me as a DM, that'd be a fucking nightmare.
I mean, I don't mind that. I've sort of learned to adapt to that by having a world. I know how the world reacts, and the players being the wild card is good because then that generates ripples. It creates drama. It creates events. The current group is, for lack of better words, they are super dogmatic. Like, they very much go by like, okay, we're not touching aliens. We're not engaging with aliens. We're not doing this. We're not doing that. Yeah. Like, eventually, my plan is that if they go to a certain part of space, they will engage with Eldar. So it's going to go, hey, humans, we would like to. What are you doing here? We need to go and deal with something here. Are you going to be a problem? And the player's going to go, the fuck are you talking to me for? Let me pull out my pistol and shoot you. And it's going to be like, well, that's going to, if they escape, which they probably will, that's going to put some words out to other Eldar clans, and they're going to be like, cool, that ship, no negotiations, just fucking murder them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and then there's always the situation of just simply.
Yeah, naturally, he leaves.
I was going to say, like, I mean, I like chaos, and there's nothing wrong with Slanesh.
No, I absolutely believe in that as well.
I'll be back in just a sec.
Yeah, of course. So I'll just talk in the meantime. If the group were to we had the discussion of, do we want to do a Black Crusade? That was absolutely on the table. That then opened up the whole discussion of, what are you going to be doing in order to stay cohesive? How are you going to be be able to work things through? If it was either Black Crusade, the role-playing game, which has its own merits, it sounds got its own downside, because doing joint human and chaos space marines is difficult. It's got its own pros and cons, and often I would recommend picking one and sticking with that. Though if you were to then turn around and say, right, we're just going to do Rogue Trader, have all the rules be built in, you would just go down and say, right, well, we're humans, we are Chaos Raiders, we don't need to worry about corruption because that's not going to be a thing in terms of us going and becoming mutated. We're going to have to worry about corruption because we don't want to become Chaos Spawn. Cool. Insanity is not going to be a thing because you're already insane. So you're just playing Rogue Trader with certain things taken in and out. And you just have to either readjust or just go down the route of saying, well, we're still humans, not chaos humans, but we are now weavers, scoundrels, buccaneers. So that's the options that you can definitely go down and do.
I see I didn't turn off my mic.
I can hear you. It just sounds like you're speaking through a glass.
Oh, can you hear me okay now?
No, so it sounds like the mic isn't on, that it's trying to take it through something else.
What?
How's that?
Much better.
Yeah. Apparently, it switched over to my Brio mic rather than the main microphone. That's weird.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah. But yeah, so like there's loads of options for these things.
Mm.
But like I said, the group is dogmatic. I know some of the players go or say like, "Oh, we aren't." It's like, well, you really are, because you haven't taken any risks, and there are certain things that the group just hasn't engaged with. Again, I'm not saying this is not a complaint. This is a gaming style that they've gone for. I mean, sure, there are things out there, but I've accepted long ago at this point that this group is not going to be taking risks. They are some of its members are super risk averse, and the person I brought in that's going to be the rogue trader. My plan is that he needs to listen to both the one who is risk averse and the one who is risk attracted, because you need both, and then you need someone who listens and goes, all right, I like the idea that we can go into that we can get access to the illegal market, but we need to know like what are we getting ourselves into? What is the risk involved in that? Can you look into that, and we can make a better decision, rather than if we take things on board our ship and we don't know what it is, then that's it. The point of smuggling is that ideally you don't want the mule to know what's happening or what's being taken on board. If you are smuggling things yourself, while you want to know the risk that's involved with it, like if you're doing drug smuggling, you're also going to need to know, how am I going to be avoiding the risk of being captured versus how am I going to be able to sell it? Like, what's the supplier going to be like?
Yeah.
Anyway, I have. Are you familiar with Claude AI?
I think I've heard of it.
Yeah. So it's one of the rivals to ChatGPT. It
Right.
only really popped up to my radar because Claude AI was developing a contract with the Department of Defense for the United States. And the DoD wanted to basically have Claude AI be used to do calculations and decision making, which included offing people, which Claude firmly said, no, that is an ethical problem we refuse to budge on. We are not agreeing to this. And when the DoD said, here's the deadline, you have to agree to our terms, they went, no. Came to the deadline. They continued to say no. A bit of time passed by, and then we learned that ChatGPT has apparently agreed to have flexible ethics be signed up with the Department of Defense in the USA. But the reason why I'm bringing it up is that I have started using it just to sort of see what it can do. And I took I'm just going to copy it here. I wanted to make an outline for like what the underdecks were like. Let me just quickly put this into a Google Docs. Tools, word count. So I had 918 words that I basically put in. And it has taken that and it has generated a 21-page document for me that is detailing the cultures, the inputs, the structure of the different decks. So I'm going to be going through that and going like, all right, what can I use from here? And then port that over, and then I will hand that over to the players so that they can go, right, for example, the missionary. He's a very charismatic person. He's been going around the ship, when he was an NPC and now it's a player. It's like, well, you would know about the underdeck with X, Y, and Z. The seneschal, who is a criminal, who has been in the underdeck, should have full understanding of it. So I'm going to give him the full version, so that he's got that. And then the person who's got a spy, I'm going to give them like underdeck 1 and 2, so that they've got an understanding of what that consists of. But it's just, I've been using ChatGPT previously to take ideas and formulate it and then get reports out of this. Claude then goes like a bigger mile of actually making documents for me. I'll download this. Actually, no. Apparently, I can copy it into my Google Drive. Ooh. Nice. See if this works. Oh, here we go. Yep. Just there we are. All right, Seraphis, where are you hiding? There you are. So I'm just going to send you the Google Doc that it made from these like 900 words, so you can see what it looks like. And I haven't done any editing. This is just what it spat out.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm not going to read all 19 pages, otherwise we'll be here all night.
No.
But
like that, the point I'm trying to make is that I'm really embracing the whole using AI to take away a lot of the work that you have as a game master.
This is relatively well structured too.
Yeah, like it's got its own like titles and breakdowns and like how does the blasphemous tendencies have an impact.
Notable individuals like the chiefs.
Yeah. Like, all I did was just like I said, these are the chiefs and who they are for the different sections. I didn't really break them down too much. They even got like some of the details right, like the first one being Roland, being a broad-shouldered man who's meant to be. Again, I need to adjust some of the details because his key feature is that he basically wears a boar's helmet at most times.
Mm-hmm. Nice. But yeah, surprised it actually turned out something legible.
So yeah, like I think this is quite neat. Now again, in this example, what I did end up having to do with Claude is that you can connect it to your Google Doc so that it can make a copy of it, put it in. You can do editing, and it will update it for you. I've got a separate Google account to do these things. But yeah. So yeah, I'm liking what the options are, because you can use this not just for 40K. You can use it for almost any version of any version of the games that you run. Once it's got an idea of like how it works mechanically, or even just if you need thematics, it can do that, which is awesome.
Yeah, I was looking at the. I think they're calling it personal assistant of NVIDIA. Had
Yep.
something similar. But you could install it onto your computer and like direct it to files, so that like it could read those files and then spit out answers for you.
Yep.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I need to upgrade my motherboard and CPU, and then a lot of other things before I can get something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm quite surprised about that.
No, I mean, it's a sign that AI is becoming much more than just make funny pictures or terrible pictures and start hallucinating about like, oh yeah, by the way, you're actually a frog. It's like, I'm sorry, what? Yeah.
Yep. Oh, dear. Well, I realize I have not been as chatty as usual, aside from my frustrations of the video. Trying to get this fucking video out this week. I've had a really long week.
No, I get it. I absolutely get it. The last week or so, I've also been looking into some other things like just work, but like some new rules and tax regulations that's been coming out, and I've been looking at that and going like, oh joy. That's you've hit the point in life where it's like you're starting to look at like, okay, what's the rules about taxation on these aspects, and like what's that impact to your retirement? It's like, yeah, there's no turning back now.
Yeah, slightly lucky there because Australian super is kind of good for us. So, but yeah, I've started the week with having to get a new stovetop for the kitchen.
Yep.
Then a 4-hour allergy appointment for the boy. He's getting a few of his allergies knocked off.
Okay.
Which is good. Still needs an EpiPen in case there's like even a hint of a peanut somewhere.
Yeah, but like they can be quite serious peanut allergies.
Which I maintain is fucking retarded because like I'm pretty sure 60% of my body is peanut butter. So fucking don't know how that fucking happened, but whatever. But yeah, and then I had to get a cousin around to help me pull down half of our homemade home job garage, which was actually a carport that they drilled sheets of metal onto. And suffice to say, they made a non-enclosed area an enclosed area, but due to circumstances, we discovered that meant that our hot water system was now non-compliant, so I had to tear down sides of the garage.
Right.
So that was my yesterday.
Sorry, I'm just getting some responses from the game yesterday.
That's
I'm
okay.
not the. Yeah.
But yeah, as I was leading to, I know it's kind of early-ish for our talking, but I might end the stream here because I don't know. I don't have much to contribute, and yeah, I'm kind of buggered. So yeah, it's been a bit that way. I am going to try and get out my video at some point. Who
Yeah,
knows?
but
It might happen.
work at the pace that works for you. It shouldn't be as stressful. But I am gonna unfortunately need to call it here for myself.
Yeah.
I've got a few other things I need to be prepared. But thank you for having me.
No worries. See you
All right,
later,
take care.
everybody.